The Long Walk is the new Stephen King film, and I'm out here taking a walk while we're going to discuss it today. It's a little goofy. I'm sure people are going to be like, what the fuck is this guy doing with his little 69 number tag? But I actually really enjoyed this movie, so we're going to talk about it today. Today we're going to talk about the positives, the negatives, and later on we'll give a spoiler warning and talk about some spoilers of this movie.
What, walk me a while?
Yeah, I do, Pete.
So I became aware of this movie when seeing the trailers a few months ago maybe. And I was really interested in seeing it. I was like, this looks awesome. That's the guy from Alien Romulus, David Johnson. And I gotta say, this movie blew my expectations out of the water. We're gonna start this review talking about the positives of The Long Walk. Now, first off, we're gonna talk about the cast and characters, which were fucking excellent, man. In the main cast, you've got Cooper Hoffman, who I didn't even realize was Philip Seymour Hoffman's son till afterwards. I looked up the cast and was like, wow, that guy was really good. I've never really seen him in anything. Apparently he was in Licorice Pizza, but he plays essentially our main character, Ray Garrity. And this performance got more insane as the movie went on, like better and better. His mom is played by Judy Greer, who does an excellent performance. I'm gonna try to avoid spoilers in this whole talk, but there's just alone with her and him, just some heartbreaking sequences. I mean, this movie, when I say emotional roller coaster, I actually mean it. Besides him, the real standout character, is David Johnson, who plays Peter McVries, and the relationship that grows throughout the entire length of this movie between these two characters is incredible.
All for one!
One for all.
No, and again, I need to hear it louder. All for one!
And one for all!
And I normally don't go for movies that have like these sort of man-to-man relationships like this. I mean, I love Brokeback Mountain, but the actual brotherhood and bond that forms between these two guys is actually relatable and very like deep. I found myself on the verge of tears numerous times throughout this movie, and near the end, I straight up cried 2 or 3 different times. Now, the rest of the casting characters, in particular, the guy who played Hank Olson and Arthur Baker, those 2 characters were excellent. And obviously you're gonna see like almost all of these characters die throughout the length of this movie, some of them more heartbreaking than others. So let's talk about the setting and the lore that was kind of explained in this movie without spoiling anything. The way they executed it, the exposition and stuff explaining the universe was excellent. There wasn't too much of it. It's like kind of obvious what you can assume about this world, but also there's a lot that we don't know, and it's very mysterious. Now, I was saying how existential and deep this movie is, but it's also, funny. There are lighthearted moments because these characters are trying to keep themselves and their spirits up. Now, obviously, going into a movie like this, you have questions like what happens when one of these characters needs to go to the bathroom? And they definitely touch on that more than once. It reoccurs because it would be reoccurring. Things like people getting tired, hungry, injured, and sometimes the injuries lead to often brutal deaths. Now, this is based on a Richard Bachman Stephen King novel. It's post-apocalyptic. It's more of a thriller than straight horror. It's more in line with Stand By Me and The Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption. But also, it doesn't really feel like those movies at all, you know what I mean? The cinematography and actually the visuals of watching this movie on a big screen were incredible. The practical effects, honestly, it was just very wonderful to watch in the theater on a big screen. Okay, so as far as negatives go for The Long Walk, I don't have many. The one thing I'd think that should have come up a little more in the movie that didn't was just foot blisters and like the choice of footwear that people chose and stuff. Some people were in like combat boot style stuff, some people were in tennis shoes. It didn't pay too much attention to that kind of stuff, and I think would have been a little more interesting to touch on that, but that's not a real negative. It's just me finding something to say during this section. And now we're gonna get into spoiler talk for this movie. So if you haven't seen it yet, skip this section. Okay, so throughout the movie, we sort of have characters that we like and don't like. For example, Barkovich and Stebbins are kind of sort of the clearly asshole characters. By the time they're actually dying, you genuinely feel bad for them. Barkovich early on causes the death of another kid, a very like innocent and young looking kid, and it's very, very brutal and sad. It's one of the early deaths in the movie. It's kind of when everyone is still like being shocked by all the deaths instead of just like used to it. And we learn later in the movie that Stebbins is actually the son of the Major, who we didn't even talk about earlier in the positive section. That's played by Mark Hamill excellently. I love when he plays a little more evil roles and stuff. Like, fantastic casting right there. You got the character of Hank Olson, who they all rally around after his death to support his wife, because he's one of the only characters that's married, even though he looks significantly young, just like the rest of them. His death is tragic because they kind of try to make an example out of him. Instead of just killing the guy, they let him bleed out in the street as basically a warning to the other competitors. And then Arthur Baker, his death, this is where I full out cried for the first time. He's being carried along by Ray and Peter, and he's just like, yeah guys, I'm done. I'm peacing out. And they just have this moment where it's like, hey man, it's been nice walking with you. And they start to talk about just like how good of a friend he's been during that time to make him feel better as he's about to fucking die, you know? And he basically has to accept it. That one was heartbreaking. But one of the other ones is a character named Collie. When he's basically just on his way out, he's like, fuck it. He attacks one of the soldiers, takes one of their guns, shoots them with it. He gets to take one out before he gets taken out. But it's like a moment in the theater where you want to stand up and actually cheer for this character, who's been kind of cold and not great the whole movie, but you didn't hate him either. And by the time it's down to just Ray and Peter, and they're just walking together, and all the spectators are finally there, again, it gets deeper and deeper, because Peter tries to sacrifice himself so Ray can win. And it means a lot because of the previous discussion Ray and Peter had earlier in the movie about Ray's father and how he was killed by the Major and how he plans to ask for one of the carbines to kill him with it. Ray goes back, picks up Peter, takes him with him and says, just walk with me a little longer, pushes him along and collapses, and Ray gets killed. Peter is now the winner, and the guy is losing it. He's more mad about anything that Ray didn't get to win, that he's heartbroken in this moment, you know, you feel it. And he gets his wish, and what does he wish for? He wishes for the carbine. He takes Ray's wish. He points it at the Major, and we have this sort of moment, this poignant moment, where he's debating whether or not to kill him, whether it's worth it, whether it's right, and he decides, this is right, this is for Ray, and he kills the Major. And then he just starts walking off. I just gotta say, holy shit, that was a great movie. I'm gonna be doing, in the next couple days, a top 15 Stephen King movies of all time. You can guarantee this is gonna be on that list. Just how high up, I don't know, but I loved this movie. Before I rate The Long Walk, why don't you jump in the comments down below and let me know what you thought of it, if you've seen it, or if you're excited to see it. I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5 hearts. Like, I genuinely loved this movie. I could see it being a 5 out of 5. It's a very brutal watch, a very existential watch, but I highly recommend it. One of the best movies of 2025, easily. If you like this video, be sure to check out this one and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.